Hi, it's Derek Baker, and as promised, this is the first of 4 videos discussing my endorsements for key local races. And the first up is House District 61. HD61 is the newly drawn district in the heart of Collin County, McKinney-Frisco, and the city's going north. And it was the district formerly held by Rep. Scott Sanford. There's 3 candidates in the race: Paul Chabot, Frederick Frazier, and Jim Herblin. I have some notes I'll be referencing to stay on track, but know most of this by heart. Let's start with Paul. I support and endorse Paul Chabot for HD61 without reservation. He is one of the single best candidates I've seen in a long time. Look, real quick, I've been a conservative activist for over 30 years. I worked on Capitol Hill and worked for some of the most conservative members of Congress in the last 3 decades. I've interviewed hundreds of candidates over the years, and he's the real deal. Paul's a genuine fiscal and social conservative. He's a former law enforcement officer, retired in good standing. He currently serves as a commander in the U.S. Naval Reserves, and he's a veteran of the war in Iraq. He's a genuine fighter for liberty and conservative values, and he has my full and complete support. He's a fiscal and social conservative on every single issue. And I don't just believe that, but a lot of organizations that vet races believe it as well. He's earned more conservative endorsements than any other candidate in the race. He's endorsed by Collin County Conservative Republicans, Collin County Patriots, Gun Owners of America, Texas, Texas Homeschool Coalition. He's endorsed by Rep. Mays Middleton and Rep. Matt Schaefer. They're the chairman and vice chairman of the Texas Freedom Caucus. That's essentially the most conservative members of the Texas House. So I support Paul without reservation. Let's go to Jim Herblin. Jim Herblin has also demonstrated himself to me to be a conservative. While I believe Paul would be the most effective conservative voice in Austin, I believe Jim Herblin is conservative and would also vote in defense of liberty and conservative values. That leads me to Frederick Frazier. Frederick Frazier was on McKinney City Council for 3 years. He actually didn't finish his first term, instead resigning to seek this office, and he voted for the city budget 3 times while on council. And 3 of those times he voted for a tax increase twice. In the third, the most recent budget, he voted for something called the effective tax rate. That's not a tax cut, it's not a tax increase, it's just leaving taxes the same. So he repeatedly voted for a tax increase while on city council. And that's not, if that's not bad enough, he repeatedly didn't tell the truth in public forums and in multiple mailers. So here's just one of them where Frederick Frazier states, I have it underlined here, a strong fiscal conservative, Frazier cut property taxes every year on the McKinney City Council. That's only not true. He did the absolute opposite, and he sent it out multiple different cards as well. So if that's not bad enough, Frazier also opposed HB2. HB2 is the Taxpayer Transparency Act. It passed in 2019. It's the single most significant property tax reform bill that's passed the Texas House, Senate, and signed by the governor, at least in the past decade. There are significant reforms that conservative activists fought very hard for, and he publicly opposed that bill. And if that's not bad enough, and I think this is actually the worst of them, while on city council in 2020, Frazier believed it was within his authority to determine which workers in McKinney were essential and non-essential. So he thought he could decide which of you had the right to go to work and earn a living for your family. There's no other city in Collin County that did anything remotely like this. In fact, very few in the whole state of Texas that tried to do something like this. It was so bad, in fact, that the governor, less than 2 weeks later, issued an executive order essentially vacating the ordinance that McKinney passed. There's other ones as well. Frazier was publicly opposed to constitutional carry in Texas. Essentially, every single opportunity that Frazier had to defend liberty, to cut taxes, to hold the line on regulations and government overreach, he voted in the opposite. He voted like a liberal. I mean, that's just his record. And I'm going to post links showing this. And he didn't earn a single conservative endorsement of all the endorsements that were available locally and statewide for this race. He did earn some endorsements labor unions. If you check his financial records, he got over $30,000 in labor money. And the police endorsements, the Collin County Deputies Association, he got. They didn't even call the other candidates. They endorsed him before the filing period was even over. So not legitimate vetting. They did it just because he was a police officer, and they thought they could get more money, I guess. Look, Frazier is a nice guy. At least he's been a nice guy to me. I've met him many times. I'm sure he loves his family. He served his community. He's a police officer and appears to have served with distinction. That doesn't make him a good fit for state rep. It certainly doesn't mean that he's a Republican or a conservative. Just on his record, if elected, he would be the most liberal state rep in Collin County. And I don't know about across the state, but he would not be representative of McKinney and Frisco and Collin County. I'm going to add links in the bottom to prove out the records. I don't want you to believe me, but look at the record. Paul's my friend and business partner. I know his conservative stand integrity probably better than anyone. With that, please vote for a genuine conservative for state rep. If you want to learn more about Paul Chabot, you can visit Defend Texas Now. Thanks so much for listening.